Following the release of his popular 2010 game Super Meat Boy, Edward McMillan and Florian Himsel would release an inconspicuous game a year later. Not expecting anything interesting to happen, it started selling slowly with a few hundred sales per day, but exploded due to creators on YouTube making Let's Plays on the game. The game would go on to be remade into the much deeper Binding of Isaac Rebirth in 2014, with added features and items. This version is now seen to be the definitive version. The game follows the titular character Isaac, at least to start, who has been mistreated and abused by his mother, who locks him inside the basement where he has to fend off an array of grotesque monsters and progress through different levels of the ground under his house to eventually kill his mother, then her heart, then a representation of himself as a fetus. Eventually, the game falls further and further into its religious imagery until you defeat the Lamb, a representation of Jesus himself, and then the final boss, Mega Satan. The Binding of Isaac is a roguelike game, named after this game, Rogue. This genre of game is usually top-down, and you move from room to procedurally generated room, defeating enemies. Another popular game from this genre is Enter the Gungeon. The key difference between these two games is that in Enter the Gungeon, the rooms are more irregular than in The Binding of Isaac. The combat system in The Binding of Isaac uses tears, which Isaac cries and shoots at the enemy monsters. Isaac has 6 main stats, informing his in-game behavior: movement speed, tear range, shot speed, which is how fast the tears move through the air, tears, its own stat, which refers to the frequency with which Isaac shoots the tears, damage, and luck. There are also 2 more stats which keeps track of how likely you are to encounter an angel or devil room. All of these are manipulated by different items picked up by Isaac along the way. There are 2 different types of items, active and passive. Active items have a number of rooms you need to go to reset their use, and you can only hold 1 active item at a time. However, the effects of passive items are always present, and you can stack as many passive items as you want. The Binding of Isaac was released on Steam originally in 2011 for $4.80 and was gradually increased to $7.50, while Rebirth was released at $15 in 2014 and gradually increased to $20. There were then 3 DLC released to further increase the amount of content available to the player base, which is projected to be 4.42 million at the most conservative estimate. These DLC were Afterbirth, which costs $15, Afterbirth Plus, which costs $14, and Repentance, which costs $20. There was also a fan-made expansion called Antibirth, which was released for free and became massively popular. The Binding of Isaac has become a cult classic video game, receiving overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam and largely avoiding controversy in light of its negative depictions of religious figures and concepts. The closest it came to criticism was when the original Binding of Isaac was rejected by the Nintendo 3DS eShop in 2014 for its graphic visuals and religious themes, but just a year later, Rebirth was allowed to be sold anyway.